Hello and welcome to the d.MBA podcast where we share business confidence with the design community. With me are Franz and Tom. Hey
Hey,
Franz, hey Tom.
Hey gang, good to be back.
Yeah, nice to have you back, Tom. So today we will do another business design teardown, which is a format where we take a brand or a product that designers generally like, and we look at the business behind that product, and we want to see if this is just a fancy design product or service, or is it also fancy business as well. But first, before we go into today's company, we have a big announcement. Maybe Franz, I'll hand it to you. Like, what is the announcement about?
we are launching an agency.
Yay!
So when I say we, it is the d.MBA who launches an agency. So what's the story behind it? We started with the d.MBA like 5 years ago, and that was the d.MBA program. And we had over 600 designers. Actually, I just looked it up. It was 660 designers from around the globe doing this program, gaining business confidence, and really, being able to use these tools in their work. But we still get a lot of questions around business that go beyond things that we can answer in our alumni Slack. So we get questions from alumni and also subscribers saying, hey, I have troubles with these numbers on this project. So can you help me create a business case? Or can you help me test this big strategic decision? Or can you support me with business research? And until now, we have always said no to this question because we were focused on the d.MBA as a program. But now we can say yes to these questions because we have launched a business design agency, which is called Rule 72.
Exactly. And that's not a full stack design agency. Oh, we do business design and we do branding and we do everything else. We only do business design, and we tend to love everything that generally traditional designers of other disciplines dislike, which is crunching numbers, doing business research, designing business models. I mean, you can see it also from the podcast and what kind of things we discuss here. If your team or you are looking for some business design help, you can learn more about the agency and how we work and what we offer if you just head over to d.mba/agency.
Exactly.
Very exciting news, chaps. Congratulations. I'm curious. Rule 72, the name. What's that all about?
It's a good question because we've been looking for a name for a few months, and like generally we just call this whole project like business design agency for a very long time. And then Franz and I were in a meeting and we were just pressured to come up with a name. And we remembered that, okay, so we love to do math and we love to do business. Is there something that's in this intersection of these two worlds that seems like a nice name? And then I remember that there's this really cool mathematical trick it's called the rule of 72. And it means that if you're trying to figure out when a certain growth will double, you just need to divide this with 72. For example, let's say you have invested in stock market and you know that it's growing on average 7% a year. You divide 72 with 7 and you know in 10 years, 7% growth will double. Or maybe let's say your company is growing at 35% a year. This means that it will double in just 2 years. So, taking the growth and dividing with 72 gives you when something will double. And doubling is all about, it's basically what a lot of business people think business is about.
Right. Cool. So, I mean, I should have known it'd have something to do with maths with Alan involved.
Of course.
No, I think it should also, or the reason why we loved it so much is that it also reflects a little bit of how we go about things. So business and math, it always seems like super accurate, but we know that there is a lot of logic and there is a lot of approximation, and it's also more about design approach to these things. And this is why this name and this rule really defines well, or also connects well with how we work, which is a pragmatic, well-founded way to get to a goal without overthinking and overdoing stuff.
Cool. Exciting stuff. Can people find out more about this at the moment? Is there somewhere to direct them to?
Yeah, a couple of things. So one is rule72.design. That's one URL, and basically this URL takes you to d.MBA/agency. So
Exactly.
either of these two links takes you to the same page, and then you can read more about it and also reach out to us.
Cool.
So if you'll need any help, Tom, you know where to find us.
Yeah, I'll go and check it out. It's very exciting. Congratulations. Yeah, nice to start the podcast
Cool.
with a big, exciting announcement. So, yeah.
But now let's go to today's topic. So
Indeed.
which company will we talk about today, Tom?
Well, this company, have to confess, not so well known, I don't think, in UK, perhaps not even in Europe. One that came onto my radar doing the d.MBA, actually. Really fascinating, kind of known as one of the sort of godfathers of direct-to-consumer, which we are definitely going to get into. Was once dubbed the Netflix of eyewear, which I think if you are dubbed the Netflix of anything, you're probably doing something right or creating a bit of a stir. And that company is Warby Parker. Big US-based eyewear, glasses, contact lenses company that really came onto the scene, shook up the market by offering very high-quality designer-style frames and lenses for a fraction of the cost. This is a market which we will discuss has been monopolized for a very long time, particularly in design. And Warby Parker were like, there's got to be a better way. One of the founders, I think, had broken a pair of their $600 glasses and were like squinting their way through their lectures at university and were like, there's got to be a better way than this. And ultimately went on to create Warby Parker.
You know what? At what school were these lectures at? If I'm not mistaken, they were actually taking an MBA course.
Yes, they were.
Yeah. So they were learning about business and they were like, there's something wrong here.
Absolutely. Yeah, what a way to put those skills together. So yeah, founded in 2010 in Philadelphia by Neil Blumenthal, Andrew Hunt, David Gilbauer, and Jeffrey Rader. Neil and David are the two current co-CEOs. And yeah, like we said before, Warby Parker entered the market. This was a really expensive arena, heavily monopolized. You know, if you wanted designer frames, you're looking at $300, $400, $500, $600 plus. And they really wanted to bring something new to the market that could democratize that, make it more affordable, but also make the process of purchasing those more accessible and less intimidating. So really we're the first people to do the whole try before you buy thing. People would look online, find 5 frames they liked, they'd be posted out to them, give them a go, try them on for a bit and send back. That has now become a very common model with a lot of products that you wouldn't expect, things like mattresses and luggage and things like that. And the irony is that Warby Parker were originally the Netflix of eyewear. We now use this phrase, the Warby Parker of, right? Companies that have come in and disrupted a monopolized product market, particularly one where you might have been restrictive of how you could buy it or try it out, and just blown that apart. So yeah, from the Netflix of eyeglasses to everything being the Warby Parker of, it's quite a journey. So yeah, probably worth us starting to maybe touch on a bit more about the business model. I've talked a little bit about kind of pricing and kind of the direct-to-consumer piece, but I think, Franz, you're going to take us there. Then we're going to have our short little palate cleanser, a little quiz, a few little questions. I get the feeling some of the guys might already have a clue on some of those. And then Alan's going to take us into the numbers as always. I should note, not that this really matters, anyone watching this podcast, if I look like I'm in the dark, it's because I am. My lights are broken. I'm having a lighting nightmare today that's put me right off my flow. I just wanted to acknowledge that I'm not just in a cave. So yeah, Franz, do you want to take us into business model land and brand and positioning world?
Maybe first, I just want to share a story of Warby Parker. Like, I mean, I think I'm the only guy. Yeah, I'm the only person wearing glasses here. Since I live in Europe, I'm not wearing Warby Parker, but I just wanted to share how I got to learn about Warby Parker. I think it's an interesting story. So I am one of those people who had to spend $600 on glasses. So I directly felt the pain of this, but I didn't really go deep into understanding why this is happening in industry and so on. But when the Warby Parker kind of showed that this is an interesting path, then similar companies opened up also in Europe. And one of them is called Ace and Tate. So when I moved to Munich, that's where I learned about Ace and Tate. And I saw that, I for a third of the price, I can get prescription glasses. Instead of going to the doctor and all this lengthy process, I just go there, just order it home. There's 5 glasses, try them on, and basically see if this is going to be a good fit. And I've been wearing these prescription glasses from Ace and Tate for the last, 7-8 years. And even more impressively, so there's 2 more stories to this. One is I found when I get excited about it, then I talk about certain topic with everyone, and I share this story with my wife's sister, and she also wears glasses. So when she visited us in Munich, she actually went to Ace and Tate, and they at that time already had a store, and she decided to pay the additional fee, which was just $20, so you get your glasses in the same day. So she went back home with the glasses, prescription glasses, for $120. And she gets home and she was super happy about it, and she told her parents that, hey, I got these prescription glasses for just $120 and they look great and they're amazing. But you know what their response was? This can't be good. It's too cheap. So then I had to go back and kind of explain why this makes sense, and probably everything we'll talk about today, like why this price still makes sense and so on. So that's another story. And there's a third one, but I'm going to stop here. So it's just like, it's an interesting, really interesting story that's a big part of almost anyone who wears glasses has seen or heard of a certain type of or variation of Warby Parker. Even if you don't live in the US, there's now copycats all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's Nathan Tate in Brighton, which is the only other one I could kind of think of that was similar. But I'm not an eyeglasses wearer yet. I'm sure I'll get there. Neither is Franz by the look of things. Unless you're wearing contacts, Franz. Are you a contacts guy?
I'm not.
No.
But I'm wearing sunglasses.
Yeah. You're not at the moment.
I'm not at the moment. It's actually a pair of Ray-Bans that I bought a few years back for, I think, 130 euros.
Really?
And I lost them 2 weeks ago.
Oh, no.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh. That's a great timing. You need to get yourself some of that Ace and Tate gear going.
Research purchase.
Yeah.
We're also getting back to Ray-Ban in a second, because that is, a data point that I guess a lot of the listeners will find interesting. But now let's go into business model and strategy. I mean, just in general, Warby Parker is known for premium eyewear at affordable prices, right? So while on average for other companies, people spend around $400 to $600 on a pair of glasses. And now I'm talking about prescription glasses. In Warby Parker, it's more, 200, I think, or even lower.
100. I mean, for prescriptions, it can even be 100.
Yeah. Good. So that's the whole thing, right? You have a product that feels like a designer frame, but it does not cost what one would expect a designer frame to cost. So if we really boil it down, it is price being the USP, while having still a quality that is, basically suggesting something that should be more expensive than this price. And products, as we also said, prescription glasses, sunglasses, and also they opened contact lenses. So they do have contact lenses as well. Yeah. So they went into eyewear. Eyewear, interesting market. And I say this with a wink because it's really not an interesting market, right? It's glasses. And the thing is, the reason or the way... I mean, also to me, but also how exciting is it to you? Like,
I think there are people who just love there's sunglasses and there's glasses.
Yeah.
I think sunglasses, Well, I think both have become exciting to wear. I mean, if you think 5, maybe even 10 years ago, there was a certain inflection point where people started wearing glasses, like regular transparent glasses, without having a prescription, without having like any eyesight issues, and that was just because of fashion statement.
Yeah.
So I think it got exciting, and they made, so these companies we'll talk about today, one of them being Warby Parker, they made eyewear exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I have issue with the word exciting because I mean, obviously fashion is exciting, but in the end it's glasses.
It's a practical purchase, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can understand where maybe it doesn't evoke the same emotional response as a nice suit or something, but
also from the complexity level. So yeah, interesting thing. I mean, where are you going to disrupt with glasses? That's where I'm trying to lead, right? It's fashion, it's works, but there is not a lot of complexity. When we look back to Sonos from last week, right? They disrupted with technology being completely different. So where are you going to disrupt a market that sells glasses that have been around for ages, right? So glasses is
thousands of years.
There's not much to disrupt from a product perspective, right? Obviously ignoring now Vision Pro, the thing that we have all seen in the last few weeks. But yeah, now we're talking about sunglasses, prescription glasses. There is not a lot of margin for disruption when you only think about the physical product, right? And to really understand how Warby Parker managed to actually, really disrupt a market is by also understanding how the market, when they launched, looked like. So Tom, you already said they launched their company in 2010 as part of this business school program, like venture initiation program or something. And at this point in time, the market for glasses, sunglasses, prescription glasses was dominated by basically one company. This one company is called Luxottica. And I mean, do we now all know? So I'm just thinking about asking you this question. I know that Alan knows it, but Tom, do you also remember from the program, d.MBA program, how much market share they have?
It might have shifted by now, but I've seen figures that show in the US, at least, it was something like 60% share, which is wild.
Exactly. So when in 2010, they had 58% market share of this eyewear market. And that is wild, right? So this company was started in 1961. And they became this huge dominator of the eyewear market by some very smart moves. So first, they have proprietary brands. So I just mentioned I lost my Ray-Ban, Luxottica. Oakley, Luxottica. Persol, Luxottica. So all of these brands are owned by Luxottica, proprietary brands. Then the next move that they did is licensing luxury brands. Prada, Chanel, Dolce & Gabbana, Versace, Burberry, Ralph Lauren, all these glasses are actually made by Luxottica.
One company.
And on top of that, everybody knows you can buy these brands that I just mentioned in every single retail store. What they also have is their own retail chain. So they also own their own retail. So this is almost like, this is monopolistic position, close to monopolistic position. So this business model of having almost a monopolistic position, licensing these big brand names, which costs obviously a lot of money. If you want to use Versace's name and put it on your glasses, that's gonna cost something, right? Also retail placement, selling everything through retail and having usual markups in glasses is about 3 to 5x for the frames from the wholesale price. This led to these like crazy prices, right? So a combination of this monopolistic market, of this licensing, and of this retail. And here is where Warby Parker started, right? Not innovating with product itself, but innovating with the business model or more closely with their strategy and how they approach the value chain. So what they're doing is they have in-house designers design all their glasses themselves. They work directly with manufacturers for both the material and the assembly. They have their own brand. Warby Parker is their brand. They don't license anything. And they sell direct to consumers. And all of that made it possible that you have glasses that work. Say hi to your parents-in-law, Alan. So they have glasses that work.
That work.
Because so
they
yes,
they may have used a different word, so I don't want to put this in. But yeah.
Okay, they are good even though they are cheap, apparently, because you can just do business differently than it was done until then in this market of eyewear. Because how this business was run with a company that owned like 60% of the whole market was in a way that you had very healthy margins compared with some business decisions that helped them grow, but also were high on cost, like the licensing of brand or going through retails. So as a result, we have this in-house design, or direct manufacturing partners, direct to consumers, which is this Warby Parker model that you, Tom, mentioned, right? And now you have the Warby Parker of luggage, of mattresses, of strollers, of, we might even say like athleisure, right?
Yeah, we touched on that a couple of episodes ago, didn't we?
Maybe not, because Lululemon was founded before, but yeah. But yeah, it's a similar model, right? You're shortcutting, or you're cutting out people or positions in the value chain. You're trying to go direct to consumer, and through this you have bigger control. You have direct or more closer relation to your consumers, and you usually also have cost savings that you can pass on to either have more healthier margins or go for adoption through lower prices. And that was basically this, let's say, step one to even have a right to exist in such a market that was dominated by one player so heavily.
Will you also talk about the actual cost of producing glasses and lenses? If not, I have a short story.
Yeah. Sure.
I just remember when I actually were deciding where to buy my first Warby Parkers, so Ace and Tates, I was like, can it be any good? Just like my parents-in-law. So, and I looked up online how much it actually costs. And both of these things, so frames and lenses itself together, on average, don't cost more than $10 to $15. And then I was like, to make, production cost. I was like, oh, okay. So why was I paying $300, $400, $500, $600 until now? Yeah, it's because of a different business model.
And that's at the designer end of the market. I saw similar kind of figures that were kind of half of that for, if you were not so worried about materials or design. It really does make you think about the ethics of a business model where you are charging hundreds, thousands times markup. But that's how monopolies can thrive, right? And interestingly, your parents anchoring and your in-laws anchoring to the price they were used to paying and saying, wow, how can you have good quality for $120? The founders, I saw a story they shared where they were putting together their original pitch deck to investors, and they went in, had it all worked out, and we're saying, look, we're going to disrupt this market and we are going to sell direct to consumer designer high quality glasses and lenses for $45. And the investor just pushed the deck back and was like, no way. No one is going to believe for a second that you can have that kind of quality at that kind of price. So they end up anchoring to a more reasonable, nearly three figures, because people just wouldn't believe it. It's too good to be true. But to your point,
Yeah.
Alan, you'd still be 50% markup if you were selling at that level, but the business wouldn't have been as successful because we all anchor to, at the moment, or historically had anchor to that higher price. So interesting, the kind of psychology of pricing as well and positioning. So they ended up doubling the starting retail price based on that advice.
That was a good choice.
Interesting
It
one.
just reminds me of another tool that have you two heard of Van Westendorp price sensitivity meter?
No.
You did, France, right?
I mean, I know price sensitivity, but I didn't hear about the price sensitivity meter.
Well, basically, Van Westendorp is just a way to figure out what is a good price for your product. And it's super simple. You do a pitch of a hypothetical product to consumers, and you explain the benefits, the features, and then you ask them 4 questions.
Mm-hmm.
So the first question is, at what price would you consider the product to be so expensive that you would not consider buying it? In other words, too expensive. Then it's at what price would you consider the product to be priced so low that you would feel the quality couldn't be very good, too cheap, which in our case is then $45 or $50 for Warby Parkers. Then the third question is, at what price would you consider the product starting to get expensive so that it is not out of the question, but you would have to give some thought to buying it, which is expensive on the high side. And then the fourth question is, at what price would you consider the product to be a bargain, a great buy for the money? So this gives you basically like a frame in which you want to think about the product or the price of your product or service. Even though we've seen examples of companies going out of this parameter and still being successful.
Yeah.
Hello, Apple. But most of the brands can do this, so you do need to kind of think through that.
Mm.
Interesting. Franz, anything else on the sort of business model, brand?
Of course.
positioning? Of course. I know what's coming. I hope we're going to play a game.
So, we are not going to play a game. I do have a question, though. You know that Warby Parker started out to be an online sales place for glasses. In 2010-11, when they started, what percentage of glasses were sold online?
1%.
That's easy. You read it. Okay. Yeah, at this point in time, 1% of all sales of glasses was done online. So, yes, you have a great new business model and value chain. Problem is, somebody needs to buy your stuff because you're not gonna open source. Because again, this direct to consumer sales online is one part of making this even possible, having this low price. So how do you make this happen? And you already said it, Tom, right? They were one of the first ones to do this try at home or home try on offer. So from the very beginning, it was possible to select up to 5 frames, try them on for 5 days for free of charge, free shipping label for sending it back. And this means that for something that you would usually do in store only, having a retail experience, you could now do at home. I know that this now sounds like a no-brainer, but that was 2010-11, right? So shipping was not as, let's say, commonly used as now. If you get something shipped, then you got it. So this return for free is also not something that was too common. So that was a very important move to basically get the company off the ground, right? And an interesting thing, and I don't know about this because again, I'm not wearing glasses, but how do you feel about trying something on in a store? Do you like it?
I mean, with glasses, it's like you're gonna have this on your face all the time.
Yeah.
So I actually really appreciated the moment where I could have them on for a week and try them on in different, like even different outfits. Like I'd try them on 2 different days. It would give me this confidence of hey, this is a good choice. So in a way, it was even better than in the store.
Exactly. That's what I felt too, because for me, trying something on in a store is always like a stressful experience, to be honest. So what's my mood? Who is watching? Like, what's the light? I mean, obviously it's nicer to do this in your environment where you are the only one who can, like, who just focuses on that. Maybe you have another person's opinion who might not have been there in the store. So yeah, that was an interesting thing, not only recreating an in-store experience, but actually upgrading an in-store experience. You might not have this professional seller telling you, well, this maybe doesn't sit perfectly, but at least you got the upgrade of you have your time. There is no stress. Nobody's waiting in line behind you. You can try it out with different outfits. So I think it's even better than in-store try-on.
Yeah, same. Like if I get to the stage of needing glasses, which probably will, I would much prefer that. Like pushy salespeople, that kind of stuff. I'm like, not for me. And I don't know. I've been to opticians with other people when they're trying on glasses. It doesn't typically feel like this nice boutique experience where you might be happy to pay orders of magnitude more for. It's usually pretty clinical. You've got the budget stuff, mid-range and sort of designer. I'm sure you can go to places where it's all very high end, but yeah, I don't feel like you get that element from it. Although I'm sure we'll move on to Warby Parker's sort of physical stores piece. And to your point, Franz, about maybe it's not going to fit perfectly, but one of the things that I really liked about what Warby Parker offer is they give you credit to go and get your glasses adjusted by a professional. I think it's up to like $50 or something. So you can take the ones you've bought and get them tweaked by someone at an optician's, and they'll refund you for that. I don't know if that's something that Ace and Tate also do, but it's pretty cool.
I did have this experience. So when I bought my first pair, there was no store in Munich. So I went to one of their partner stores. And I just told them, I bought it at Ace and Tate. And I actually went in a couple of times. And basically, I think they charged it to the parent company. I didn't ask, but it was a nice experience.
Cool. Another one, getting the company off the ground. So Warby Parker is targeting, they were founded by university students. They were also targeting, let's say, younger people, more price sensitive, but still fashionable people. And luckily, this young mind also went into how the companies run. And when I say this, I mean social responsibility and dedication of the company to values beyond business. So from the very start, what they have implemented is a buy a pair, give a pair policy. Have you heard about this one?
Mm-hmm.
So for every pair they sell, they donate a pair to someone in need. But what I found interesting in this model is that they don't just give it away, but they partner up with non-profit organizations who train people in developing countries to conduct basic eye exams and then sell these exact glasses at an affordable price to their communities. So it's basically not only giving away glasses, but it's also creating jobs. And until 2022, I think I've read 13 million pairs.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So not only given away, but actually sold for affordable prices through these local, I would say, business people now in this case.
It reminds me of the shoes. I think it's called Tom's. They have the same, like, buy
one for one.
Yeah, 1 for 1.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and they are B Corp certified. So again, early on decision of what company they want to be, which is part of the strategy, right? So we are still talking about strategic decisions. It's not something that you have to do. You can also say as a company, well, that's not the time for this. First, we need to earn some money, and then we can think about these nice other things, planet, people, and so on. No, you can make this a strategic decision from the very start. Last one. I have one more. A big strategic move for a company like Warby Parker was
Opening stores.
true. And again, I cannot surprise anybody from you because you likely already know what percentage of revenue they're now making in stores. Does anybody not know from the two of you?
I don't.
I haven't got that to hand, unfortunately.
Come on. Are you lying? Okay.
I mean, I have a sense for it, but I'm not sure about the exact numbers.
So 2010, they have started selling glasses online only. Now they have... No, I'm not going to tell you how many stores. I'll tell you later. But now they're having a bunch of stores and they are selling also offline. What is the percentage of offline sales?
40%.
I was going to go 40.
You
Top
can
France
go with
half
40,
nodding
Tom.
there. Yeah, 41 and a half.
90.
Wow.
90.
Yeah.
That's
90%.
Yeah, that's what I read.
Wow.
I heard that they had parity in like 2017, 18. And now they are at 90% offline.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah,
Warby Parker off.
exactly. Okay, Warby Parker of luggage. Have you already opened some stores?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What the
they are
irony,
running
right?
200 stores in the US and in Canada. And you gotta extend here because what they have done really, really well is combining online and offline experience. So initially, it was more like for brand visibility and customer relationship. But what they have done now is having this full experience that combines offline and online. So first one, in every store, there is a full range of products. So you can try out everything also in a store. You can click and collect to a store. You can get your glasses adjusted in these stores. You can reserve your glasses and try them out there. And they're also quite big in, or also quite smart with where they open the stores because they used current customer data in order to determine the locations of stores. Now, do these stores work?
In what way?
Yeah, I mean, profitability wise, you will tell us more, I guess.
Yes.
But one thing I was wondering is how good can a store work like this? Like it's only glasses, and how does this work? So in the end, I also tried to find out like how successful are the stores when it comes to sales. They kind of need to be successful because they are making 90% offline now. And they say that they have $2,900 of sales per square foot annually, which doesn't say a lot, right? Because it's just a number. But just to compare that, Apple has the highest square foot sales, which is 5,600.
5,546.
To be exact.
And Tiffany & Co., like Tiffany, luxury brand, 3,000. So luxury brand has $3,000 per square foot, and Warby Parker goes with 2,900. Also with a smart store design, right? Everything looks like a bookshelf. Stores are kind of small. Everything looks like a boutique library, combined with a huge billboard. And yeah, apparently one of the highest or best-selling stores when you compare revenue per square foot.
And just to put this in context, I found the same data, so I have some more stuff on this. It's like let's say you have 1,000 square feet place, or that's roughly 100 square meters. This is basically $3 million per year per store. Yeah, that's pretty good. And just to give you another example, like what is the sales per square foot annually in Walmart? It's $500. And Lululemon, Tom, Take
our
a guess.
favourites,
Yes,
Lululemon.
take a guess.
Oh, let me think. 1,500.
That's a very good guess. It's 1,560.
Oh, it's only 60
It's
off.
almost as if you work for Lululemon.
Very good. Yeah. Those are very impressive numbers. And I was, they've been on a big expansion piece, right? Like the last thing I saw was like from 3 months ago, and they were hoping to have 240 stores open. And they were saying that they're sort of the rate at which they pay back their costs of refurbishment and rent and whatnot is like 20 months. And apparently that's a very fast cycle compared to the standard kind of cycle that people go through.
Sounds very fast.
Worth the investment. And yeah, considering I've got a stat here that on average Warby Parker customers complete one order per year and buy an average of 1.5 units. So you can imagine that maybe once you've done the in-store experience, you might be more confident online or vice versa. And as I understand it, they tend to treat online and in-store purchases as this. They don't prioritize one or the other because they understand that most of the marketing work might have happened online. Someone just happens to go in store to tweak it or something. So they still have parity there, but those figures, that 90% is pretty compelling. But probably doesn't, but like you say, Franz, doesn't paint the whole picture as far as, online and direct to consumer is still a big driver of probably a lot of those sales.
Yeah. I mean, what's definitely not true is that they could shut down their online activities,
That's
right?
it, right.
A lot of that's, But it was still super, impressive to me to see that a fully online company has now 90% offline sales. And I was just, that's why I dug so deep into these square foot revenues, because stores are mostly bad, right? And when you're a Walmart and you're just you have huge store, you need huge stores in order to sell low volume products. That's the worst. But in this case, when you think about it, you can have a lot of glasses in a very small store when you stack it in a bookshelf, right? So you're not in need of a very big store. So even this speaks for this offline expansion.
Even before I dug into these numbers, I always had a feeling that this is a great business. Why? If you go into any city in the world, these, how are they called? Opticians or eyewear stores, whatever, they usually have really huge space and very minimal, if you go into an apparel store, there is just t-shirts and trousers everywhere. You basically need to walk through different aisles to get to where you want to go. And these stores with glasses, they're clean design, just some glasses on the sides. There's a lot of space. It just gives you a feeling of they can afford a much bigger store than what they would need. So that's one thing when I see this discrepancy in what space you need for actually holding your itinerary and how little itinerary you have in the store. That's one telling sign. And then another is for how long these stores are surviving in their locations. That's another sign of longevity and a good industry with healthy margins, or maybe even too healthy margins. But that's another side of the story.
Hey, we could talk about margins and numbers later, because usually what I would do now is I would go into competition, talk about strategic groups and talk about market shares and so on. I started, but then realized it doesn't make sense, because we have, now 39%, but we basically only have Luxottica, who has now merged with another company, which name I forgot, Luxottica.
Yeah.
So they own everything, right? So there is no in this industry, there is no need to go into competitor groups. So that's it for business models. Business model and strategy.
No one seems to be doing it at the scale of Warby Parker, that model yet, right? Ace and Tate, and there's a few in the UK. I haven't come across any that are starting to do the same that's happened in luggage and mattresses. Like, there's so many direct-to-consumer sort of mattress offerings now that are considerable, kind of comparable scale. But yeah, same. And then that acquisition was lenses, I think. It was a lenses manufacturer. So now they're getting even more vertically integrated, Luxottica. So not going away anywhere. I'm very surprised that they haven't been caught up in any kind of legislation issues with like monopolies and whatnot. But
that's because this market can be sliced in so many different ways.
Yeah.
There's like eyewear industry, and then there is a prescription market industry, then there's sunglasses industry. So you can make the case, different cases, and that's why it's hard to prove it's a monopoly.
For sure. Are we ready for some numbers? But first,
Palate
a bit of a palate cleanser, a bit of a quiz.
I was looking forward to that.
Short one. So, okay, quick Warby Parker quiz. So, question 1: Warby Parker's name was inspired by characters from the work of which literary figure? Was it A, and I always pronounce this wrong, Jack Kerouac, B, F. Scott Fitzgerald, C, Harper Lee, or D, Ernest Hemingway?
I know the answer, so I'll let Franz guess.
I read it and forgot it.
Alan, then you can try and pronounce it.
I'm going to just say A.
A, Jack Kerouac.
Funnily enough,
yes.
Yeah, I did look up the pronunciation of the name, so it is a tricky one. The
It's
surname.
a trickier one.
Kerouac.
So yeah, it's a combination of the names of two characters from a Jack Kerouac journal that the founders spotted when there was a Jack Kerouac exhibition at the New York Public Library in 2009. So it was Warby Pepper and Zag Parker. And apparently new starters at Warby Parker get a copy of Jack Kerouac's The Dharma Bums. Don't know if either of you read that, on their first day. So there we go.
When I read that, I felt that if we just use the other part of these two characters' names, it would be also a fun brand. Pepper Zag. It's probably some like food brand.
Yeah, damn. They also launched Warby Parker once. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
It was a like April Fool's-ish sort of tongue-in-cheek thing. They put out their annual report one year and checked the sort of SEO on it, and apparently 1 in 3 of like spelling mistakes or something where people were spelling it Warby Parker rather than Warby Parker. So they're like, oh, we can have a bit of fun with this. So I think for like a week they launched a website where you could buy glasses for dogs, and they had like a promo video and everything like that. The website's still live. It looks very old now, but yeah, quite a cute little
I gotta check that.
campaign. Yeah. Okay, well done, Alan. 1-0. Question 2: which late night US TV host of Warby Parker collaborated with twice, launching the limited edition Flippies and Spinnies models, which I'll tell you about once you've answered the question. So A, Seth Meyers, B, Jimmy Fallon, C, Trevor Noah, or D, David Letterman?
I'm gonna go with D because I think David wears glasses, but I'm not sure about A and C. I've never heard them.
France?
C. I go
C,
with
Trevor
C.
Noah. No, you're both wrong. It's Jimmy Fallon. Yes, so they're quite fun, and they do actually sell these, and the proceeds all go to charity. So the Flippies is a pair of sunglasses that the arms can go both ways. So on one side you've got like a nice classy black frame, and then when you flip them over, they got a like bright blue Warby Parker brand colour frame. That's quite nice. And then I'm not a glasses wearer, but I've done this with my sunglasses. The other ones are spinnies. So apparently some people, and I definitely do this, you know, when this is what for the YouTube people, like I'm spinning my sunglasses, do this with their frame, and you can end up throwing them off or, you know, damaging them or something. So they have a little like bearing in the arm, and you can just spin the glasses.
Perfect.
As a little fidget spinner. Very expensive.
Smart.
One.
So millennial.
Yeah, so that's both real things that they've done with Jimmy Fallon. Okay, final question. No, this is not multiple choice. I just need an answer. So one of Warby Parker's worst selling and now discontinued products was also one of co-founder Neil Blumenthal's favourites. What was this product? It's a really tricky question.
So it's not glasses?
It's eyewear.
Sleeping masks.
No, good guess though.
This one really would benefit from A, B, C, D.
Yeah, I thought about that and it would be too obvious.
Okay.
I'll give you a couple more seconds. No.
I don't know.
Single lens.
Monocle.
A monocle.
No way.
Yes. The monocle. So
How
in the
come
original.
nobody bought this?
Yeah, it's so obvious.
Because
So
it was
in-
so expensive. One was 100, but then you needed two, and then everybody was like, no.
No, $45 for one thing. Yeah, it was a monocle, and it's named after Colonel Mustard from Cluedo. It was called the Colonel, and when they launched their original range, I think it was like 25 different frame designs. They had the monocle in there, and they knew it wasn't going to be a seller, but there was something about it as a kind of quirky, interesting thing that kind of ties a little bit into their sort of heritage look and feel that they thought was interesting, right?
Yeah.
Rather than having some novelty thing, and I guess it is a novelty. It was kind of harking back to that kind of classic.
I like this
eyewear
move.
piece. Really interesting.
That's exactly my humor. Selling
Maybe
monocles.
you need to get them to bring it back. And they actually had someone draw out a whole bunch of cartoons about this monocle hanging around New York and things like that. So yeah, it was a little bit of an activation early doors, but yeah, unsurprisingly not a big seller, but I kind
move.
of a real favourite of one of the founders because of where it positioned them and that kind of quirky spirit that they like to have. That's it. Short quiz today.
Ready for some numbers?
Let's get into the numbers. Over to you, Alan.
As always, first we're going to try to guess how big Warby Parker is in terms of their revenue. I know that Franz probably came across the revenue numbers, but what he didn't come across is it's a guessing game, so who the other company is, and it's not going to be that easy. So, Tom, Franz, who is bigger? Which company is bigger? Warby Parker or Yelp?
Yelp.
Oh, man, Yelp is massive, but God, I don't know how much that business model is really doing numbers these days. I'm going to go with Warby Parker.
And why did you go with Yelp, Franz?
Market size.
Market size. Okay. You are correct. So Yelp has 1.1 billion in revenue.
Yeah.
So that gives you some reference now. It's less than that. Next is Warby Parker or Eventbrite. So the ticketing website bigger.
You want to go first, Tom?
Yeah, God, I never perform too well in these ones. I'm happy to go first. I always anchor in the wrong areas. Eventbrite take a percentage of ticket sales? Is that how their model works? I should be
putting me on
able
the
to
spot.
ask
I'm not sure
questions.
either. Just
Yeah, I'm going to go
take a
with
guess, Tom.
Eventbrite.
Eventbrite? Okay.
Yeah.
And your front?
Same.
Eventbrite?
Eventbrite is big.
Warby Parker.
Damn it.
Really?
Eventbrite has 200 million in revenue.
Wow.
Unless my data is wrong.
Eventbrite.
And last one, Warby Parker or Groupon. So the coupon website, coupon service.
Man, isn't Groupon just dead? I'm going to go Warby Parker, see if I can get 3 out of 3 wrong. France?
No, yeah. I follow Tom.
So both of you said Warby Parker.
Yeah.
It's actually Groupon, but just by 1 million. And that's all 2022 data. But this is like basically Warby Parker and Groupon are of the same size in terms of the annual revenue. So this means, Warby Parker's annual revenue in 2022 was around 600 million. It was actually 598 million. All of these are dollars, obviously. And now, okay, so we have a big disruptor, Warby Parker. They're going to come into the market and they're going to disrupt Luxottica, or now called Essilor Luxottica. Do you want to guess how big Essilor Luxottica is in terms of the revenue?
May I calculate stuff?
I mean, you can, of course. I can also just tell you. But if you want to play the game, Franz, you can calculate.
I want to say more than 10x.
More than 10x. That would make it 6 billion.
Oh, I'm going to go higher than that. Are they as big as Lululemon, though? I'm sure we'll get onto that question. I'm going to go 20 billion.
Very close, Tom. 26 billion in revenue.
26?
Yes.
Big bits.
But now another question. So again, Warby Parker came into the market in 2010 and they were like, we will disrupt Luxottica. So by this rationale, 26 should have been like the minimum. So basically, in other ways, let's put it this way. What was Luxottica's revenue in 2010? So I was trying to see if was it declining or was it growing? Did Warby Parker actually disrupt Luxottica? But in 2010, Luxottica's revenue was 5 billion. So they grew exponentially in the last 10 years. Yes, there was a merger with Essilor, so that does help a lot. But still, you can see that it was a growing market in itself, the eyewear industry. So there was no disruption as such happening. It was just both brands growing at the same time.
Yep.
That's an interesting story also when you have startups entering the space, like, hey, we will disrupt this industry. Sometimes there's no disruption. Sometimes there's just like piggybacking on what exists and you playing the Robin Hood when another company is like the evil entity here.
Sheriff of Night. Was the Sheriff of Nottingham a bad guy? I think he probably was.
I don't know. But now we come to the saddest part of this story, which is profitability. So yes, Warby Parker did make 600 million in revenue, but they also made 100 million in loss.
Yikes.
Yeah, so that's pretty bad, that's 20%. In other words, every time you order glasses from Warby Parker, and if you, let's say you buy Warby Parkers for $100, actually $20 are paid by investors.
That's nice.
Have you actually? Yeah, there has been this like.
Thank you.
Exactly. There on Twitter, there has been this trend a few years back where people were buying stuff that they thought couldn't be profitable without investors, and they just took a picture, and they wrote, "Thank you, investors." Basically, thank you for subsidizing us with this product. So yeah, currently it doesn't look that great, but I also had to look at the trend. So in their profitability, is it getting better? Is it getting worse? However, with the recent Corona epidemic, it's a bit hard to know that. So what I did dig up is that profitability or loss was actually 13% in 2020. So that was 55 million loss over 100 million in revenue. 400 million. And it was 27% loss in 2021 and then 20% loss in 2022. So you can see it's all over the place. But the first quarter of 2023, so because we are in June of 2023, we can only look at the first quarter results. It looks a bit better. It looks like the company is doing a bit better this year. It looks like they will cut down 20% loss to 10% loss. So still a loss.
Isn't it even looking profitable this first quarter? No?
From what I saw, no. I mean, France, they're using this like adjusted EBITDA words, and adjusted EBITDA just means we will adjust this ratio to make it look as profitable, but
As long
essentially,
as until it's profitable.
Yeah.
Adjust it as until it's profitable.
every company's adjusted EBITDA is profitable, but in reality, it's from what I've seen, no. And this is primarily driven by, I'm quoting here, reducing marketing costs, lower stock-based compensation, and adjustments to our cost structure made in last year. So these are the main reasons why it looks a bit better. But they're gross margins. So gross margins in this. So this is how we look at where's the problem? Okay, we're not profitable, but is it because we have is our product not profitable, or is just the way we run the business not profitable? And the way to look at this is something called gross margin. So gross margin is basically how profitable a product is. So we look at the revenue from a product minus all the costs associated with making and selling a product. And in this case, it's 55%, which is really good. Compared to, in the last episode, we talked about Sonos, and that had 40 to 45% gross profit margin. And this is, again, 55%. By the way, Luxottica, 64%. And 2.2 billion in profit. So it seems that the problem is essentially not on the way the product is positioned and the way the product is sold. It's more with just the way the business is run, with the other things around the business model.
So which costs are not in the gross margin? It's marketing costs. Is it running stores, or is this in the?
It depends on the accounting standards and how you want to make it look, but I would say that in this case, it should be inventory and so on. Yeah, factory and so on. Good. So for the last kicker, Warby Parker did go public recently. So we want to see again how much money it raised and what is the current market cap. In other words, market cap is how much the company is worth. It's multiplying all the stocks with the current stock price. So in total, the company raised more than 500 million, to be exact, $535 million. And the last round was, I believe, in 2020, 245 million round at 3 billion valuation. So then when the company went public in 2021, in October, it actually was valued around 6 billion. And at the moment, as of today, June 12th, 2023, it's worth 1.3 billion. Ouch. Just a reminder, Sonos, profitable company, was the last time we looked. So in the last episode, it was worth 2 billion. So yeah, it's like the stock price just is tanking. Actually, this year it just went down by 30 or 40%. So it's in a huge decline. And when you have a public company, that's where the problems start. You know, you can't really raise more money. You can't go to banks because there's usually companies then, or sometimes the companies, they can take a bank loan against their stocks. But if your stock is tanking, you can't do this either. So unless they can turn this around, Warby Parker could be acquired by none other than...
Oh, no.
Luxottica. Yeah.
Yeah. Almost 80% of valuation loss since IPO.
That's a tough scene. That's, yeah.
It is. So going back to the beginning of, like we said, we're going to look at great products that design community loves. Warby Parker is definitely one of those. But when you go into the weeds of the business side, it doesn't look that impressive anymore. However, they still have time to turn around. It's a race against the clock now, because once you lose 80% of your value as a company, it's really hard to gain trust from investors. But yeah, let's see.
Indeed, let's see. An interesting thing, we are talking about brands that designers love, and I think there's a few factors that make us love these brands. And I think with Warby Parker, it actually touches on quite a few. It might be the user experience, it might be the design quality, it might be the business model, it might be the technology. I think they're one of those rare ones that actually does all of those things, and that's what makes it kind of fascinating. Wonder if there's anything they're going to do new in the technology space to try and innovate things to try and improve their position, because they have done some good stuff as far as like being able to do a sort of rudimentary online eye test and the whole, trying on glasses virtually, which is interesting stuff. But I guess there's only so much you can do, to Franz's point earlier about innovation in this area. But yeah, they are an interesting company for all of those reasons, and yeah, hopefully they pick things up.
Which is our last section.
Indeed. So at this point, we've kind of heard all about the brand positioning, the numbers, and everything, and we think, okay, are we bullish or bearish? Are we buying or selling Warby Parker? So it'd be good to I don't know if this is going to end up being 3 out of 3 based on our last 2 episodes, but maybe Franz, we could go over to you first and maybe talk a bit about how you're feeling, maybe the threats and the opportunities for Warby Parker, and then how you're feeling, whether it's a buy or sell or hold for you.
I think so. This last section always includes like threats and what they might be able to do in future. And for me, this was a little bit of a disappointing section to research, because all the threats that I was able to think about and also find is very much related to any other comparable company, right? Obviously, if you have a hardware company, it's about supply chain. If it's a fashion company, it's always about similar to patent infringement, like stealing designs or being sued in this area. Obviously, this balance between profitability and their brick and mortar stores, not sure how big of a problem this is for them with, as we said, rather small stores with high sales per square feet. But again, it's the profitability issue that they need to work on, obviously. I thought that when I researched the numbers, that they did turn around this year. But if they are still not profitable after pandemic has ended and after stores are up and running again, and 3 years after IPO, I think that's the biggest thing that they need to work on, getting their at least breaking even and at least not having losses anymore. And then I think, if one can trust, I think it's a buy.
Okay.
Because share price is crazy low, like 80% below. I mean, obviously every share can go to zero, right? Every company can go bust. But if there is signs of they will turn it around and they will get profitable, I think this stock is an interesting buy option.
This is not financial advice.
It never is.
Worth disclaiming, but
yeah. This is just for informational and entertainment purposes only.
Only entertainment purposes.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Wasn't sure you would get there, Franz, but yeah, some interesting points there around.
And just to obviously, one thing that they haven't been doing is a lot of internationalization, right? US and Canada. Yeah, there is other markets to go.
For real. Yeah, lots of opportunities still out there. Alan, how about you?
Yeah, so Franz just took my opportunity point, but in terms of the threats, the interesting ones, it's also like VR industry. So if just recently Apple launched the Vision Pro, and it's interesting how this will affect the eyewear industry. So if people wear this, and obviously right now it's just an experiment by one company, but if it becomes a mainstream where people use this more and more, does that mean that, as far as I understand, these devices can't be worn with glasses in? So then you may just need to buy the lenses for the frame, for the VR headset, and this is more of an opportunity for the lens manufacturers. than for the just frame manufacturers. So in a way, it's a threat because I wouldn't say this is the biggest core competency of Warby Parker. That's probably where Zeiss and even Luxottica could better play than Warby Parker. Then I think there's more and more people just getting laser surgeries, LASIK. So that's a big threat to the whole industry, especially for the prescription glasses. Then we have the remote work, which I think it just affects you just putting less, emphasis on your look and maybe having different glasses for different occasions or whatever. It could be another threat. So I think there's a lot of forces that go against. Did you want to say something, Tom, about the...
I was just going to say, speak for yourself, Alan. You're all looking on point on camera, so yeah.
It's above the fold and below the fold. It's
oh God, let's think.
No, I mean, opportunities-wise, yeah, I think it's the same thing as Franz said, which is they've only been in Canada and US, so there's still a lot to explore here. So this could be a much bigger business, but I think it's smart from their side to just focus on domestic market until they figure out the profitability. But once they do, they have a blueprint for how to just enter market after market after market. So, and in terms of my verdict, I'm not buying. I don't like gambling. I'd rather buy businesses that are stable. So it's also like my approach to buying that's different here. But I do agree with Franz. This is an interesting buy opportunity. Again, this is not investment advice. Just this is more like just fun exercise for us. But yeah, I personally would not be buying.
No, it's another one of those for me that I came in going, damn, yeah, looks like a great business. Like, why wouldn't I want in on that? And then you dig into the numbers and the opportunity, and it starts to feel a little bit more nervy.
I mean, you know what's funny though? Like, there's so many people who go and pick stocks and hey, I'm gonna buy this and then I'm gonna buy that, and they never do even this basic thing we've done. So all of us spent a couple of hours on research for these episodes, and if you find a lot of the stuff, and then the way I see some of the colleagues buying these stocks is just like, oh, I like the product, I'm gonna buy this stock.
Nice brand.
I like the brand, so I'm gonna buy this stock. It's like, I think this is not the best way to invest.
No, real.
This is not investment advice.
Yeah, this is not. this is investment advice. Do your research. It's also a fascinating way to really explore. We've said this many times before that as designers, on the surface, a business model just looks absolutely killer, and you think, God, that must be such a successful business. We love it. Design's great, all that kind of stuff. But then, you need to dig a little deeper, and it's a great way to learn about the twists and turns of growing a business of this kind of scale and where it can take you and the potential pitfalls and threats and everything. So yeah, really useful exercise. Man, I always find it fascinating starting on the road to researching these. So Warby Parker has been a particularly interesting one. I did on the kind of threats piece. I don't know, it might just be naive here. But for me, it's like what could stop Luxottica from starting their own Warby Parker competitor? It's not like they would be. I guess you could say they'd be cannibalizing on their kind of high-end sales, but so many of these brands that they own, people have no idea that they're all owned by one brand. So if they were to launch a more budget-friendly DTC Warby Parker copy, I'm not. They've got all the infrastructure there to do something like that, so that feels like a big threat. But someone already mentioned that they could just go down the acquisition road instead, if that was of interest. But they could destroy Warby Parker probably if they decided to do that.
That's an interesting thing because, so Alan, remind us again of the revenue of Luxottica.
$26 billion in 2022.
Yeah. Now imagine going to one of the top management people and saying, hey, I want to found a direct-to-consumer brand where we sell glasses for 100 euros a pair, $100 a pair. And then they're like, yeah, what can we expect? And you're like, yeah, there is one industry-dominant player who does exactly that, and they have been in business since 2010, and they're having a revenue of 600 million.
Yeah, be like,
And then you're like,
Please shut the doors from the outside.
shut the door from the outside and work on our high margin products, because that's what's making us money, and we're not fiddling around with these things. So just a little other way of using this, what we have just discussed, right? So if you are on the other side of this story, Luxottica, and you're a designer for their in their business, that's an interesting fact to know, right? In which brand do you work? What's the revenue there? What are you contributing to the business? What ideas have a lever? What competitors do you have to be concerned about? Who are you designing against? So that already helps you knowing this market and knowing your own revenue and knowing the sizes of the businesses within this company, to get ideas across or even chase the right ideas.
And this is what we say all the time. Strategy is making trade-offs, right? And deciding what not to invest in and go after. And we say that so often. Don't try and do everything. I guess Luxottica, with their scale, it just feels like they could. But whether they should, probably not. Don't need to, certainly. I don't know that they'd be losing much sleep over Warby Parker at the moment.
And I don't know, but I would assume they also have a budget brand. The only thing that they don't have is this one brand so I think they have budget products, but what they're not having is this one brand that speaks like Warby Parker, saying, hey, we are the ones, because that's just one portfolio item for them.
Yeah. I hadn't considered also, I watched an interview with the founders recently, and they were talking about the size of the market growing so much over the next decade or so. Something like 50% of people needing glasses in the next 20 years, and that's going up. I guess lifestyle, screen work, all that kind of stuff. But then to your point, Alan, that probably is taking, that's not just, they weren't just talking about the US market there, and actually the countries that can afford Warby Parker, alternatives, things like laser eye surgery and things like that might become more prevalent, cheaper, and actually the places where the eye care is needed and maybe is growing in need is maybe not the markets for Warby Parker. So yeah, interesting. I think I'm not buying either.
I'm the only one buying.
Is that 3 out of 3 episodes so far where we've come away not?
No, I'm a buy.
Oh, you are, aren't you? Yeah. Because it's so cheap at the moment. You're like,
this is 1 out of 9.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Have we got anything else to wrap up with? Any more thoughts on Warby Parker? No.
Send me sunglasses. My Ray-Bans are gone.
Oh, your Ray-Bans are gone. Damn. What? Well, I'm sure Luxottica can sort you out with another brand from their portfolio.
Yeah, especially after hearing this glowing podcast. You should just send them this instead of your money.
I'm always losing sunglasses. I never spend more than 40 quid on them, just because they've been left on subways.
Maybe that's an opportunity. Why don't they create glasses that you never lose, that you never
That would not be in their best interests.
Okay, so here we're going somewhere. I'm telling you a story about an Austrian glass manufacturer.
Yeah.
They're called Glorify, and they're made out of material that doesn't break.
Right.
So lenses and frame. So you can sit on them, you can twist and stomp on them, they will not break. And they had this awesome appearance on this Austrian version of Shark Tank. And one of the investors said, so, what's your problem? Why aren't you growing? And they said, our glasses don't break. Yeah. So that's to the point of let's make glasses that are not lost. Yeah. So that was a fun one for me to watch.
Yeah.
Because they had stable revenue numbers, awesome products, everybody loved them. So then comes the question, why are you not growing? And they said, nobody repurchases.
Our own
Nobody
USP.
repurchases because they're not breaking.
Yeah. Oh God, we said that about Synos last week, didn't we? Where they make such robust products that they were struggling with how do we keep people buying. But yeah, cool. Well, good luck with your glasses hunt, Franz. I brought my sunglasses for the episode. You couldn't, obviously. Alan already has his. So next episode, let's see what you end up replacing them with.
Yes.
Cool.
Research purchase, Franz.
Indeed, it's always a good excuse.
Cool. Thanks,
Nice
Tom.
one.
Thanks, Franz. I think that's the episode, right?
Yeah.
And to whomever is listening until now, you obviously love business topics, especially intertwined with design in the design world. So you may also enjoy our mini MBA, which is an email course, a free email course where over the course of 7 days, you receive 7 emails. And then in those, you kind of get to learn a few business concepts that are relevant to the work of designers. So if that is interesting to you, head over to d.MBA/mini MBA. So d.MBA/mini MBA. And with this, we are definitely concluding this episode and see you in the next one in another teardown. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.